Welcome, everybody, to Forget About It Junk Removal channel. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribed. I am your host, Paul Italia. Today, we got a very special guest on here. His name is Kevin Hess, and he is an official OG of the junk removal industry. Welcome, Kevin. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Paul. How about you?
Doing great, brother. Have you on the channel, so this is definitely a treat for me, somebody that I've been following from the very beginning. So I wanted to first start off and I wanted to find out, how did your journey into the junk removal industry all begin and what made you get into it?
Well, that's a great question. I've always loved junk. Just back in the days, me and my dad used to go around and just, on a Sunday night when they put trash out in Miami, we'd go around, find some good junk and, take it home, fix it up, put it in our house, sell it, whatever. And then actually later on in my end of my high school years, my now wife, me and her used to do the same thing. I mean, we actually funded an entire road trip across the country just with stuff that we've gotten junk and everything else. So I've always loved junk. So when I moved to Georgia and I saw an advertisement for 1-800 Got Junk hiring, I went in there. I was actually excited to actually get paid to find junk.
Very nice. So tell me a little about 1-800 Junk and what was your part of it and how long were you working with them?
Yeah, I was actually with them. I was with the Atlanta Northwest franchise for 10 and a half years. You know, we, yeah, we started off, it was, a mom and pop place. It was started off, it's kind of a small location. Even though they were doing 800,000 a year, they only had three or four trucks and, a couple guys. And so, when I saw that opportunity, I have a background in operational management. So I'm like, well, this is going to be easy in compared to what I used to do. So, I jumped on that and it was a lot of fun. So, hauling junk and getting paid for it just seemed like a cool opportunity.
What were some of the most important lessons you learned while working at 1-800 Junk that you still apply in your business today?
Well, the funny thing is, as far as lessons that I learned, the first 7 years I was working there, I really didn't learn much of anything, apart from the same, every franchise is a cookie cutter training. We had a 2-page, 10-day training that they did for everybody. And most of the franchises, every franchise is not created equal. I have to say that right up front. Some of them wouldn't even do the training. They just throw them on the truck and say, learn from this guy. He's been here a while. So, learning different things I've learned over the years, how to apply and, but none of that really mattered. I really didn't pick up any lessons. Everything that I learned started after the seventh year. I had a change in my own life. I got that dreaded phone call from my doctor telling me, "Hey, Mr. Hess, I'm sorry to tell you, you have cancer."
Wow.
So after that, everything changed. My whole mindset changed. One during that whole ordeal, one of the vice presidents from 1-800 Got Junk, he actually was our regional operation manager for a while down this way. And, he had been promoted up to a vice president. And he called me during that. And we just had a long heart to heart conversation. And, I told him that, everything has changed for me. I need, because not only, getting over the cancer, but I also was diagnosed with Lynch syndrome, which makes it's a genetic disorder which makes me highly susceptible to other cancers. So in my mind, my you know I have a limited time to do something with my life, for me, for my family. And so I kind of had a heart to heart with him and I asked him to give me some straight, honest to goodness feedback. And he told me that, yes, I was probably one of the best managers that he's ever seen in the system. And I told him, I said, well, what is it that I'm doing, that I can improve on? And he told me, you can be, you're a great manager. You're good at managing the processes. You're good at managing the business, but you're not great at leading the people. That's something that you can really improve on. And I took that to heart. And from that day forward, I started, you know, finding leadership podcasts. I started reading a lot of leadership books, and those were the lessons that I learned from them on that changed everything. It changed the momentum of my own careers, and not only that, but the franchise itself.
So year 7 and all, you get this bad news, and now you start learning how you can improve yourself. So how do you what do you change? Like, what was like day to day? What did you start implementing for 1-800 junk that you weren't before?
I started, well, one, I started really applying goal setting, not just typical goal setting, but OKRs, objective and key results, which are the goal setting process that companies like Google, Apple, Netflix, all these big industries utilize this goal setting process to help them, really achieve their goals. So I started doing that for myself, and it was really, really effective. Not only that is, doing one-on-ones with my guys, really learning about them personally, and what I can do to help improve their lives, not just talk about performance. It's not just a meeting about performance and, hey, you got to do this. um, it the difference between actually being a leader and a manager is a manager tells you, okay, you need to do this and improve. As a leader, I have them tell me what they need to do to improve, because they already know the expectations. So teaching them how to look at those expectations and actually learning from it and telling me what they need to do. But those one-on-ones were really important because I found out what they actually wanted to do with their lives, not just within the company, but apart in their personal lives, their professional lives, and what I can do to impact that.
And did you see a big change now in the numbers for 1-800 junk for the franchise you were working for in those 3 years?
Well, yeah, God, that's an understatement. So when I began with 1-800 Got Junk, like I said, they were a smaller franchise, even though they were doing $800,000 a year. And in those 7 years up to that point, we had a slow creep up to 2.5 million, which you look at that and like, hey, that's great. But after I started developing myself as a leader and seeing that impact how the business was run, I really set up some real training and development, not just like that 2-page, 10-day training, but like real training that took up to 3 months. And from there, that first year, we went from that 2.5 to 3.5 million.
Wow.
And then after that, I saw this success and I'm like, wow, this is making me feel great. I'm really changing the way I do things. And by being a leader, I'm really impacting the business. Now I feel like I have some sort of purpose. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, what would happen if I started developing my team as leaders? What if they feel that same thing that I'm feeling, that same passion, that, really seeing the vision of the business? What if they saw that? So I started developing my team as leaders and really empowering them to do more. And, because doing those one on ones with them, I learned a lot of them really wanted to do something more than just picking up junk and collecting a paycheck every week. So I started developing them as leaders. I stepped up our training and development program. I really started empowering my guys. And then that next year, we went from that 3.5 to $6 million.
Wow.
Then we come up to 2022. That day, January 2nd, I remember that day. I walked in there and I had an all hands meeting with my guys. I had everybody come in and I set up goals for the year and things that we wanted to do. And one of those was to be franchise of the year. We're going to be number one ranked top performer. We're going to be franchise of the year. And not only that is I'm going to create a legacy. I'm going to make sure that a lot of people, I promised 3 that we're going to move forward in the business. And that was my goal for that year. And even my district manager told me that, oh, that's great. That's a great BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. I said, no, that's not a BHAG. That is the goal. And I had everybody on board, everything, all the boards around the office, every text message, every email had hashtag FOTY 22, franchise of the year 22. That was what it was. And that year, everybody was on board. Everybody saw the vision. Everybody bought into that vision. And by that end of that year, we went from that 6 million to $9 million.
Oh my God. Wow.
Now that I've really, really stepped up the development of my guys, let me tell you, we had a morning meeting every single day. Very rarely you heard me talking in that meeting. My voice, if you're holding those meetings every day, your voice becomes stale. But when you have your guys actually go up there and hold the meeting, setting up the goals for the day, talking about the numbers that we did the day before, them standing up in front of their peers empowered them to do more. They wanted more. And for them, it was really, really empowering. And they felt like a leader, and everybody watching them wanted to be them. So everybody started really stepping up their game. Everybody wanted to do more. We put people in operations. We moved people into, we built a really strong training and development team that a lot of people wanted to be involved with. They would come in 30 minutes, an hour before their, time that they clocked in, to help other people train and to do training. Even though they were off the clock, they didn't care. This is what they wanted to do. And they really saw that vision. They really wanted that franchise of the year. They really wanted to be that top performer, and they wanted to be every single part of that growth of the business.
That's amazing. And I want to shout out Sonoma Strong Hauling and Junk Removal. They're in the chat. They said, "What up, Junk fam?" So, did you hit that goal for 2022? Were you guys the franchise of the year?
We were franchise of the year, ranked number one top performer out of 175 franchises, the franchise of the year. And as far as moving people forward, not only did we move probably 10 guys within that business, but I sent my lead trainer to one of the other the Atlanta franchises, and they were doing so well that the other Atlanta franchise, because there was 3 Atlanta franchises, the other one needed help with training too. So the next guy that up, I sent him down there to help train. And then we had Grand Rapids, Michigan called me and was, they were trying to find out about our operations, how, we were doing so well and everything else. They really were weak in their operations. I talked to my lead operations manager, and we sent him to Grand Rapids, Michigan with an opportunity to become a general manager and be an actual partner in the business. Then, one of my lead, in Naples, Florida, they were struggling with their training. I sent my next lead trainer off to Naples. Another company was taking over Jacksonville, Florida. I sent one of my guys down there. He became the new general manager. And there was just a lot of moving parts, a lot of people moving forward, that I started a wall where I had everybody's picture there that was moving off, called my legacy wall. And I put their picture up every time. So the more pictures I put up there, the more people I moved forward, the more people bought in, the more they wanted that. So they stepped up their game. They really, really wanted to move forward in their careers. And so many people did it that year. I had promised 3, but I ended up being more like 15, But I have started really, really filling up that legacy wall. And to me, that was more important than anything, because being able to move people forward is something, that you do as a leader that impacts everybody's lives, the lives around you. And that's what it means to be a leader, right? Leadership is being in servitude of others. And me actually impacting their success is the best feeling in the world.
Now, I know that you won franchise of the year and all, but were you reaping the benefits as well financially? Were they taking care of you for building such growth so fast?
Well, I tell you what, once we started really building that growth and seeing that scale up, my my salary doubled.
Oh,
And then it went, the more I farther we went, the more it went. To be quite transparent, I was making $150,000 a year.
very nice. Very nice. Now, what motivated you to start Survivor Junk Removal, and how has the experience been different from your 1-800 junk experience?
Well, we were having so much success and the growth was so phenomenal. Not only were we growing, but the help we were giving to the other Atlanta franchises, they were growing as well. So the owners decided that, because they were all owned by the same franchise, the same company that was out of Kansas City, um, they decided to bring in an area manager, and we were not on the same page. You know, he as much as the company promised they didn't want the direction of being a corporate entity, the more they grew in their other businesses, because they own, not only did they have several junk 1-800 got junk removal, they had moving companies, they had a lawn care company, and they were you know kind of pivoting towards other home services as well. So they brought in this area manager, and he started making a lot of changes, making it more of a corporate atmosphere, and didn't like a lot of the things that I was doing. He wanted to focus more on saving money than generating revenue. And just there was, he wanted me to cut back a lot of the leadership development and just focus on training guys to go haul junk. And it just, it wasn't, you know, after the year before we won franchise of the year, we weren't uh, eligible for franchise of the year before, because of the new ownership. So we had to wait till a full year of ownership before we can become eligible. And we could have won a lot of awards that year, but because we weren't eligible, we weren't able to do that. So the corporate office actually sent somebody down there to interview me, right? And he was asking me a lot of questions on, the success for that year and the fact that we weren't eligible to win any awards. And one of the questions he asked me was, he's like, "Look, I feel really silly asking a grown man this question, but what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I sat and I contemplated that for a while, and I said, "Look, if you would have asked me this at the beginning of my journey, the answer probably would have been, I want to be successful. But the closer to success I get, the more I realize I'd rather be significant. I want to have value to other people." So to me, taking that away from me was huge, because I was creating a legacy, because I did it for personal reasons, because I know my time on this earth is limited, and I wanted to create a legacy. And to take that away from me, I realized that now might be the chance to create my own legacy in my own life. So I went again and started to set goals for myself. So about 18 months ago, I set three really big, hairy, audacious goals for myself. I said, one, I want to start my own business. Why? Because I tried many, many times in the past and I have failed every single time. Number two is I wanted to write a book. Why? Because I've tried a couple times in the past and I have failed each time. Those are two things that have really irked me that I haven't done in my life. So I said, you know what? This is the time I'm going to do it. The third thing is I want to tell my story to a big audience. I want to actually talk and inspire others to do more, because that was my favorite part of my job, was actually teaching these young guys to and inspiring them to do more with their lives. And I wanted to do that on a big platform, which on October 25th, I finally get to hit that third goal, thanks to Matt and JoJo. So, these are three things that I really wanted to do with my life, and that's going to create my own personal legacy. I did my legacy. I created that with 1-800 Got Junk. Now it's time to do it with my own personal life.
And just for you guys in the chat and all, what Kevin's talking about October 25th is we got the Junk Expo going down in Roanoke Park, California, set up by Sonoma Strong Hauling and Junk Removal. That's Matt Vick and JoJo Vick. They've got a full panel of just top in the industry speakers, Kevin being one. I'm also going to be part of that. Forget About It. Junk Removal is an official sponsor. I'm going to be bringing over my truck that's going to be freshly wrapped. I'm literally working it out right now to get everything wrapped and done by that day and all. So, guys, definitely check it out. Unfortunately, though, the tickets are sold out. I've been telling everybody for the last month, make sure to get in touch with Matt Vick because they were running low on tickets. And I know 2 days ago, the official banner went out and it said they are officially sold out, which this is amazing. And I'm hoping that they're going to be doing this more often and all because I think it's been a great success so far. We got so many people coming from all over the country, just an amazing, amazing networking experience, and just be there with your notebook and pen and just kind of take notes on all these great speakers that'll be there. So very, very excited about that. But I want to get back to, how you started Survivor Junk Removal. When was the actual start date? When did you open that up?
It was actually September of last year. So we just hit our 1 year mark.
And what did you start off with as far as vehicles and all? So I know you have 10 years experience on the 1-800 junk and all. Did you go with the same kind of setup as them, same kind of trucks? Like, where did you begin?
Well, I wanted to go that way, but unfortunately, when you're first starting out, I didn't have the funds to do this because, of course, in the back of my mind, there's always that, nagging at me, am I going to fail this time like I did the other times? So I started off with a pickup truck, and I didn't want to go the route of the dump trailer or utility trailer or anything like that because to me that kind of looks junky. And hey, yeah, I know the benefits of a dump trailer, makes it easier to unload and everything else. But I wanted to really focus on my branding. So what I did was I got an enclosed trailer, because it even I don't have that dump truck or box truck, so I wanted to have a billboard. So having that enclosed trailer gave me the opportunity to create a billboard for my business and actually work on that branding.
Now, how many employees did you start off with? Is it just you? Did you get another employee to
I
work with?
started off with myself. Occasionally, I'd have one of my sons help me out if it was a bigger job. I have, one of my sons that he works in, with a tree company, and I have another son who's a firefighter, and on their days off, if I needed them, they'd come and help me out.
Now, how is it doing it by yourself? Is it, something doable for beginners, or, do you recommend coming in with a second person? Like, where would you recommend people to start off with?
If you can to have somebody else to help you, that's the best way. Obviously, labor's cheaper when you do it yourself, but when you're, you know, like me, I have, breathing problems from COVID. I have, a bad back, two bulging discs in my back. It's not the easiest thing to do, but with when you're determined and really wanting to succeed, there's some, you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I would suggest getting somebody, even if it's part time, to help you out because some of those big jobs, unless you're a big, strong arm wrestler, who can handle a lot of that, throwing a sofa up over your shoulder, that's, that would be the direction I'd get it, even if it's just somebody part time.
Now, what's your experience been like owning your own company? And, is there anything that you would do different knowing now?
Well, the biggest challenge for me was probably the same challenge that I had on all the other businesses I try to do. I know junk removal inside and out, back and forth, every little aspect of it. Hell, I train a course on, the on-site experience on, how to really take care of customers. But the one thing that my biggest weakness was I know jack shit about marketing. That was one thing that I always had a marketing team behind me to handle that stuff. So I never really had to get into that, branding myself, making sure that I'm out there marketing, what to spend money on, what to not spend money on. I've had so many failures trying everything out, but it never really affected me negatively if I failed at something, because to me, failure is just something that's going to make me stronger at what I do. And so that I've dabbled here, I've dabbled there, I've connected with a lot of really good mentors, learning different ways to, use that marketing without, obviously I'm in my first year and still growing. I didn't have the funds to go full on Google ads or anything like that, but you know, I'm learning a lot about marketing. I've learned, there's a lot of great guys in these Facebook groups that I've connected with. You had Ronnie on there talking about SEO. I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot from, Andrew. I've learned a lot of the guys that you've actually already had on here. I've talked to personal in the past, and even a lot of the guys that were taking my on-site experience course actually taught me a few things as well. And Xavier is so knowledgeable. I have conversations with him all the time. It's great that he's going to be at the expo there. We're actually getting a just found out from Matt 2 days ago that he's going to give us a vendor booth to work together. So, but Xavier's got so much great knowledge when it comes to that. He has helped me out so much, especially on the commercial end. Just but there's a lot of knowledgeable guys out there, but because to me that was really important, because that was my biggest weakness.
Well, Xavier, if you're listening, I'm going to be contacting you now that I just heard from Kevin Hess, and we're going to have to get you on an interview for sure.
Xavier's got a great backstory too. He's amazing. He is so knowledgeable. He is genuinely one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Very nice. So I know we just touched on it a little, but I want to talk about building a brand. What do you think are the key elements in building a successful junk removal business brand?
uh Being seen. Just 1-800 got junk is where they're at today, not because of their advertising or anything like that. It's just people see them, they see that brand everywhere. Make yourself visible. If you're out and about in your truck, your trailer, your if you got an Isuzu dump truck and it's got it branded, makes everything has to be branded, down to your uniform, down to your hat, whatever you got, be branded, be seen. If you're in your brand new wrapped Isuzu that you just got, and you go out to lunch, don't you pull into the Burger King parking lot, don't park in the back of the building and eat. Park that truck where it's visible, because most of these fast food places are on a busy intersection or a busy road and things like that. Park it out where the people driving down the street's going to see your truck while you're in there eating. Make yourself visible as much as possible. Hell, sometimes, if you got your truck and trailer at home, if you're a small business and you have that and you need to go grocery shopping, take your truck with you. Park it somewhere on the side of the road while you're getting groceries, but make yourself visible. Not only that, you know, especially if in your like me, I'm in a smaller town. I I work in the Atlanta area, but I'm west of Atlanta. I have a lot. It's a smaller area. I'm not doing a whole lot in the Atlanta area. I handle the West Georgia area, a lot of more smaller towns. So to be seen, I have to make myself seen in the community. You know, participating in community events, making setting up vendors tents at different events that they have. I have an event that's coming up. I've done a lot of work with the American Cancer Society, their Relay for Life. I participate in all their events, just different vendor events, and just making myself visible in the community and having that community, being part of the Chamber of Commerce. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, to make myself visible to the actual county. And then I get people from the county actually calling me, and plus I'm able to network with other businesses within the county. Hell, within 6 months of being in the Chamber of Commerce, I was actually given this award, Small Business to Watch finalist, because I made myself visible in the community. Not just because I'm doing a lot of business, but just because I'm active in the community and making that community important to me, and they see that.
What's some of the organic growth that you've been chasing? As far as like yard signs, door hangers. I know when I had Ronnie on, you were a big fan of door hangers and all. So can you kind of give me some examples of things that you're implementing for organic growth?
Well, definitely the yard signs. The yard signs are big, and that actually has been very challenging for me because, obviously the best route to go is I had a lot of yard signs with my logo on it and everything else, but I was having a lot of issues with the county. They didn't like yard signs, and they wanted to fine me $1,000 per sign. So
Wow.
it was a big issue. So I had to switch up my game and put it without my logo, and just even got a Google Voice phone number, which is something I learned from Andrew Thompson. He does it for tracking purposes. I did that to make sure that I'm not fined by the county. And there's certain counties outside of here that I handle as well. That's not a big of a deal. So I have to kind of switch up my game on that. It was probably, which kind of hurt because, like I said, branding to me is very important, and not having my logo on there and not having my brand on those signs, you know, it's kind of disappointing to me. So, but as far as door hangers go, yes, door hangers are important. And what Ronnie said, I jumped in there because that was really important. Because when you're at a customer's house, you have your billboard in front of this customer's house. Their nosy neighbors are driving down the street or peeking out their curtains, looking at, what are they guys doing? Oh, yeah, they got a junk company over there. You know what? I got junk. Maybe I call them. Walk into the next room, forget about it. But if you go after every job, you go 5 houses down, cross the street, 5 houses back. Your partner goes the other direction, 5 houses down, cross the street, 5 houses back. Now all those neighbors have a reminder. If they want to call you, they have something that say, "Oh yeah, these are the guys that were across the street at my neighbor's house." Sometimes they'll come out and say, "Oh yeah, I saw you over there. If while you're here, can I take a look at something? I have this right here. Can you grab it? You know what? I'm already here. This is what we usually charge, but since I'm already here, I got a deal of a lifetime for you." Because guess what? I don't have to pay for that lead now. So I can afford to give them a discounted price. I might go to a customer's house and walk away with two of their neighbors' junk as well because I'm visible. They see my logo on my trailer or my truck. They see my brand. And like I said, those nosy neighbors, I got junk, but then they forget about it if you leave. If you don't leave those neighbors, those door hangers, you're missing out on a huge opportunity.
I'm glad you said that with the yard signs because that is one of the problems I think I'm going to run into. And I actually started off by going ordering 1,000 of these great branded signs with my logo on it and all. And then when I started driving around locally in my town, I would start noticing where the yard signs were. And I was noticing like they'd be there one day and then the next day they were gone. And I started thinking, I'm like, I've heard some of the people say that, the local sheriffs have contacted them and, kind of we're against them putting that up there. And I think I might live in one of those areas. And, the couple of other people that I've had on, they were like, oh, no, keep your logos, get them on there. But you were the first one that just said, with the fines. And I think that might be, something I got to worry about locally. And it's kind of disheartening knowing that I just, spent all that money and got 1,000 of these beautiful logo signs and all. But I think I'm going to keep those yard signs for my actual customers, after I do a job on them. And, you know, Andrew gave me a good example where it's like, I'll take $20 off the job if I could just keep this out there for, the next 2 weeks or whatever in front of their house.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend as far as the bandit signs? Like, is there certain color scheme or something that I should go with, to just put my phone number and just plain junk removal on them?
Well, I've played with a lot of different variations. Obviously, like I said, I love my logo, and you should also find out from your county or whatever what the actual fines are. Because I forgot who it was, but somebody made a pretty good point once that they pay the fines regardless because that's just, to them, it's just part of their marketing budget. But with me, $1,000 a sign is pretty significant, so that's why I had to go in a different direction, which is disheartening because, like I said, I'm really big on the branding part of it. Different people will tell you different things on the signs. I think Xavier might be one that he's talking about the different psychological views on these signs. A lot of people point towards the yellow signs, using those. But to me, I still wanted to be connected to my brand. So mine is still, I still have my blue and white and black in there. That's usually with my logo. So, and I also use my tagline, which, you know, it's funny because it's once I found, figured out who Sonoma Strong was and I don't know who Matt Vick was, we kind of have the same tagline, too much junk. I thought that was funny, but I like to keep that on my sign, and with my phone number and everything else. But, I've tried again different variations. The first variation I tried, I wasn't getting the same response from. So I tried another variation, different sizes. You know, to me, God, if I could just do my logo and build that, because I'm working so hard to build my brand. But, you know, some areas it'll work better than others. I haven't had the same success with my signs without my logo. Um, but I'm still trying different variations. But, and when you do talk to Xavier, he's got a lot of good information on that and what he recommends.
Is there any, do you use the tracking numbers that Andrew Thompson talks about? This way you could kind of trace where all your marketing is, you know,
Well, I have my regular phone number that I use on most of my marketing, but on those new bandit signs that I did, um, I took to heart that 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 advice that Andrew gave, about having a different phone number. So I do have a different phone number on my bandit signs. That way I know that that came from those signs.
and what do you see as like your success rate with those?
Um, right now, it's the signs that I'm using right now is not as successful as the original signs. I was probably, but if you put out 1,000 signs and you get 10 phone calls from that, that's pretty successful in my eyes. That's why it's really important to um, be resilient when it comes to really putting out big numbers when you're going out there, putting out the volume, not just a couple a week or whatever, but really go all out. So you just said you bought 1,000 signs, you know really put that out there. The more you get, the more jobs you're going to get from it.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in the junk removal industry, and how did you overcome them?
The biggest challenge My biggest challenge used to be, which is the same as most companies, is finding good people, right? So during that hiring process, I got to the point where I let them know right up front, look, if you're here to, just be a worker or helper, if you're here to collect just a paycheck, come to work, do your work, go home, pick up a paycheck, and not think about anything that we do here anymore. This is probably not the job for you, because I'm looking for people. I'm not looking for helpers or workers. I'm looking for people that I can develop into leaders. I don't believe in the having one lead and then one helper, which I hear a lot of. I'm developing everybody to be top notch, the top lead guy, everybody that walks in my door. I'm putting every effort I have to training them and developing them, and not just as great junk haulers, high performers, but leaders as well. And that impacts everybody's lives, not just, the lead guys that have been there for a while or whatever. I start training that leadership from day one. So, having that, it helps really, you know, having that people stay longer, not just work a couple weeks and decide that this is not for them because it's just a bunch of hard work, but they actually have a career path in front of them. Not just they're going to help haul junk for a while, get a small paycheck, and go home. They actually have an opportunity to make real money with the company.
What does your hiring process look like, and do you believe in background checks?
I used to do a lot of background checks. I used to do you know, read resumes, from Indeed. I used to go through that whole process. But being a junk remover, let's face it, it's not rocket science. You don't need somebody with a background in junk removal. You need somebody that's good with customers, dealing with customer service. I ask him questions that revolve around really taking care of customers. I think it was Russ Berry. He hires guys that were all work in the hospitality industry, bar, servers, bus boys, whatever, that deal with customers because they got a good at dealing with customers. But to me, it's really, really basic. If they walked in there, they had a good personality, and if I see a smile on their face, their smile means a lot to me because I know the customer is going to love them. Everything else, I'm going to train them because, like I said, I had a really great process for training and development. So I can take anybody from any background and make them an amazing high performer when it comes to junk removal company, no matter what their background is. And no, as far as background checks, I did it for a while. I hated the results because being in Atlanta, everybody's got a background. So to me, I'll give you an example. I had one guy that worked for me. His older brother was just getting out of jail, and he told him, "Look, he's had a rough life. We all had a rough family life. He was in jail. He dealt with drugs and dealing drugs and had all this stuff, but he really needs an opportunity." So I brought that guy in. He ended up being one of the best performers I've ever seen. And he loved it. He was making such good money. I kept trying to get him to step up his game and actually, come into and being a trainer or work in operations. But no, the money is great out here and everything else. But then I started working with him more and more and finally got him to our training department. He actually went up and became our lead trainer. And as we started really, really growing, we actually created a position for him where he was going to be the lead trainer for all three Atlanta franchises. He was going to be the area director of people and development. We created a whole new position for him, and I kept telling him all the time that I'm training you to take my job. I want you to take my job because I want to grow with the company too. So I need somebody good enough to take my job. And the happiest day of my life is when I left, he took my job. That guy that nobody else would give a chance to just got fresh out of prison, and nobody wanted to give him an opportunity. That's why his brother came to me, and I gave him that opportunity. Now the guy's making six figures a year. He's traveling around the country. He bought a really beautiful house. He's really, really happy.
That's a great success story right there. Now, I remember you telling us that you made like a training program and all. Is there somewhere that we could find that, or people could get in touch with you to get that training program that you provide?
Well, I do, I've been doing this training with different junk removal companies. I had a course that was focused on creating, the on-site experience with customers, which is basically helping you build your own training process. And I've actually worked with a lot of, other junk removal companies, whether it be in person, over Zoom, or whatever. I'm doing a training now with a company out in Augusta, Georgia. I'm training their team and actually empowering their team to come up with a training program. Utilizing everything that I taught them in that course and build that. I'm waiting next Wednesday. They're actually putting together a training. Their homework was to put together a training program for them that's going to take everything that they've learned from my course and put it together with whatever I told them straight up front. We're not throwing away everything that you guys have learned and you guys have succeeded at and replacing it with mine. I want you to combine the two, put it together, find out what works for you. And you're going to build a training program with this that so that you guys can become the new trainers as you start scaling your business. You're going to train this to everybody that comes in afterwards. All the new hires that come in are going to learn this from you at a high level. And you guys, and one of the biggest parts of that is role playing, believe it or not. I actually run role plays in those trainings because, making them really, really uncomfortable running those role plays is going to make them comfortable out in the field. Doing it with their peers, every scenario that you're going to run into with a customer is covered in those trainings. So when these guys are out there in the field, whatever curveball that customer comes out with, they're going to have a response for it. They're going to be able to, go and close that job at a high level.
Is there any way that people are you offering that service still, like this training course, or you're not really looking to do that?
Well, I haven't actually put it out there, but I've been actually had some guys reach out to me recently, and I actually gave them the recordings from previous sessions because I've been kind of busy lately. I actually was thinking about doing another one in November. I've done one-on-ones with specific companies, and as well, like I said, I'm doing one here. I did another one up in Kennesaw, Georgia, where I actually went to their location 5 weeks in a row and ran a training with their team. And man, these guys are taking off, and it's a beautiful thing to see.
Very cool. So as far as customer relationships, how do you approach building those relationships with customers, and why is that important in our industry?
It's extremely important, which is probably the reason I actually put the course together because everything that when I started my own business, first thing I did was I jumped on these junk removal Facebook groups, right? And what I was seeing was a real limited mindset. I see people fostering a culture of excuses. My customer's too cheap. That's just not my customer. I don't get out of bed for less than whatever amount of money, or I know my worth, you know, or the market is saturated. You fill in the blank. There's a lot of excuses out there. And I saw that that's kind of one of the reasons I did that because, you know, that's not my customer. Why not? You know, that's your ego talking. That's you know, building a relationship with the customer is the most important part because every time I do my training, the first thing I do is I have somebody stand up and role play with me their first interaction with the customer. And 100% of the time it's, hey, how you doing? My name's Paul. Where's your junk? Straight transactional. And that's where they fail. That's why they don't close at a high level. It's because they're not building that relationship with that customer. Starting off building relational rapport with the customer is really important because they learn how to start trusting you. And people buy from who they trust. They're going to take your service because they trust you, and then turn that relational rapport into relevant rapport. Because guess what? You're going to find out why they're getting rid of their junk. And that's what's important. If you don't know why they're getting rid of their junk, how are you going to sell to them? Your service is junk removal. They need junk removal. That's pretty basic. But why? What is their actual challenge? Because if you know what their actual challenge is, whether it be time or space or effort, you can cater a solution directly to them because you already know why they're getting rid of that junk. So after I go and look at their junk and I'm giving them an estimate, instead of them thinking, damn, $600 to remove this junk, that's a lot of money. I'm able to remind them why they're getting rid of that junk. I'm bringing that out now that I already know that, reminding them, catering a solution directed at that, and let it, by using that, I'm establishing the value of my service. And that's what's important. If they don't see value, all they think about is price. You know, price is only an issue because I see, all these people are like, well, they don't want my full price, then they're not my customer. That No, they don't want your full price because they don't see value in your service. You're just like every other junk removal company. They don't actually see value. If you cater a solution directed right at what they're looking for, it's easy to close that job.
So
You know,
what should be that opening sentence? You gave an example, like what would be the way that you would approach that? Like, how would you approach it if you're me and you just coming up to a junk removal job and you go to introduce yourself? How would you kick it off?
you know, building that relationship with them, it could be as easy as finding out, hey, how are you doing today? Or being observant, seeing something that that they like, and start talking about it. Hey, oh man, you got a really beautiful house here. Or if they got dogs, finding, loving on our dogs, giving them some love. People love their fur babies, and you start talking about that. Start talking about the car that they have in the driveway, or you see that they have something hanging up with their favorite sports team. You start talking about that. It opens them up. It's an icebreaker, whether it's talking about the weather, the cars in the driveway, their their neighborhood, their friends, their family, their pets. Just you start getting that, and the purpose of that is to build a strong connection with them. Get them to gain your trust. People don't say no to people that they like. I'm becoming their friend at this point, and I show interest in their lives. I'm not walking in there and say, "Where's your junk? It's going to cost this much," and get on my way. You know, one of my guys actually taught me this because he used to be a door-to-door salesman, and he started talking about this technique called Fords, which is FORDS, family, occupation, recreation, which means what they like to do for fun, hobby, their dogs, their pets, and sports. That's Fords, and just to build that relationship with them, and it worked great. Because I'm not walking in there as a robot like I mentioned before and being straight transactional. I'm actually building a relationship with them because at the end of the day, one, I want to close this job. Two, I want to keep this customer forever. I want this to because you can spend thousands of dollars on marketing and advertising, but in junk removal, your real bread and butter is going to be repeat customers and referrals, referring you to their friends, their family, their coworkers. That's what's important because the lifetime value of every customer is at least $5,000. So, if you go into a customer and you don't close that job, one, you'll lose money because you just spent money for that lead. You just spent labor for sending two guys out there. You just spent money for fuel to get the truck out there, plus all the other maintenance and whatever it takes. You just lost money on that. So I'm making sure that I'm walking away with something on my truck, even if it's not the full. Like I mentioned before, somebody's talking about having that limited mindset. It's like if I don't get 100% of what if I quit a job at $1,300, if I'm not walking away with $1,300, I'm out the door. That's not my customer. Me, they can't afford $1,300. I'm finding out what their priority items are. Oh, well, you can't afford all this, but because I know why they're getting rid of their junk. Hey, I saw that, I know that trampoline is what you really want to get out of here, most important because or that old play set because your kids are coming in this weekend and putting up a trampoline for your grandkids. I'll charge you this much for that and get that out of your way, and we'll deal with this other stuff later. I'm prioritizing because I'm not walking away with nothing. I'm walking with something on my truck. I'm getting some sort of revenue in my truck.
That is priceless, and that Fords, I really like that approach. That is very, very smart, and I'm glad that you enlightened us with that. Thank you for that, brother. I want to move on into this book, man. What inspired you to write your book, Loading with Purpose? Yeah, Loading with Purpose. And I
Leading,
haven't got mine yet, so I'm waiting for this patiently. I went over to the place where you mailed it, and I wasn't there yet, but I'm definitely excited about reading this.
yeah, it's called leading with purpose.
Leading, I'm sorry. Yeah, Leading with Purpose.
Well, it's about inspiring growth, building a culture, and building a visionary team. Basically, taking everything that I learned over those last 3 years with 1-800 Got Junk and how to turn that into actually helping others become a leader, teaching their team to become leaders, and actually building a real culture in their business and how to build a visionary and really high performing team.
And how long did it take you to put that together?
I think I probably about a year.
Wow. And what made you want to write a book? Like, where did that all begin? Your dream of putting together a book.
Well, I've always been a writer. I've always, dabbled in writing different things. I actually, several years ago, I wrote an ebook about how to become, an entrepreneur and how to start your own business. I think I sold one copy in total. I've tried to write nonfiction books in the past, but, just never finished. Got destroyed in the computer because they didn't have the cloud back then or whatever. And I really, like I said, I involve myself a lot on these junk removal Facebook groups because I love teaching. That's the one thing I miss about working with 1-800 Got Junk is actually having value and inspiring other people. I had a team of 50 guys that I was, impacting their lives, inspiring them to do more. And, going out with my own business, I don't have that anymore. So I love giving advice out on these groups and doing that. And the one thing that I saw was missing, was as these companies grew, is developing leaders, and asking me questions about how to actually scale their business. And the one thing that's really, really scaled our business at 1-800 Got Junk was leadership. You know, myself being a leader and then developing my team as leaders. That impacted us in a major way. And for me, this is my way of inspiring others to do the same thing because they can do it. They just need to know how to do it and not let their egos get in the way, figuring, you know what, I know everything. I don't need to listen to anybody else, you know, but they're happy with the growth that they have and staying at that same plateau instead of actually really growing and scaling their business and building that team of really high performing guys.
What are some of the Facebook groups that you speak of that you would recommend to others?
God, there's so many of them. There's the trash talk is one of my favorites. There's the junk removal secrets is one that Xavier took over, and he actually brought me on as an admin to help with that because we want really that group is really focusing on really helping people. Not because a lot of the other ones have so many trolls in it. These egos get in the way and they troll everybody. They talk shit about everybody, and it's really frustrating. You know, I'll go in there and give advice, and somebody with some big ego starts trolling it, and it's like, bro, I'm trying to give you some advice. I've done this at a higher level than almost everybody in this group. You know, I'm not trying to boost my own ego. I'm trying to help you grow yours. So put aside your ego because your ego is going to be your biggest enemy from scaling your business. I've done this at a high level. I know how to help you. Let me help you instead of trolling, and that's why when Xavier called me and asked me to be a part of that group with him, it was huge because now we can control the trolls. We can control and actually have the people that are hungry and want to grow their business and actually want to learn something. They want to gather information. They want to gain knowledge. This is going to be a great place for it.
That's actually one of the groups that I follow, and I've been posting a lot of my clips and my interviews in there as well. So I guess that's where I ran across you. I think that's probably where it was. Is there any other groups? I know you said Trash Talk was another one. Is there any other one off your mind that I should get in part of?
Lewis Vanderbilt's group. Um, what's the name of that?
I've been hearing that name quite often. Is he an SEO guy?
He develops websites. He does SEO. He does all that. His group is called Junk Removal Marketing Success Community, and he is a great guy. I mean, he helped me really. He from the beginning stages of what I've been doing, he's been at my side. He believes in me and gives me such good advice. We talk on it. We collaborate on a regular basis. He actually bought my course and then traded me being able to use my course to help his customers and his clients. In exchange, he built me a great, amazing website. But he has believed in me, and he collaborates with me all the time, asks me for my advice. I ask him for his advice, and he has a great group that's very knowledgeable and helps in every aspect that you can think of. So he's got a great site as well if you really want to learn something.
I'm definitely going to be hitting him up as well. I keep hearing his name, and I definitely want to get him on interview for sure. And I'm going to definitely go and subscribe to that group because that's one of them that I'm not a part of yet. So I'll definitely take a look at that right away. So we know we got the big Junk Expo coming up October 25th, set by Sonoma Strong, Matt Vick and Jojo Vick, which everybody in the industry seems to follow and kind of finds industry through them, which I also was one of those people. So I wanted to know, what are some of the topics you plan on covering at your talk at the Junk Expo?
Basically, I want to, instead of going there and selling a service that I do or anything like that, I want to share my story. from, a lot of that we talked about then, and really getting into detail about what I did to build that franchise and build and develop these guys into leaders. I want to share my story from beginning to end, you know, in order to inspire others. I'm not trying to go there to sell a service that I have, or even to sell my book, or anything like that. I'm going there to tell my story, and that's it. And let them get inspired from that, or not get inspired from that. It depends on them and how hungry they are. I'm assuming that everybody that bought tickets to this, that 200 people that bought tickets to that are traveling from different parts of the country to come out to there, they're doing that because they're hungry. They want to learn more. They don't think they know it all. If they thought they know it all, they're not coming here. They're putting aside their egos, going out there to actually learn something, learning from people that are industry leaders. There's a lot of great guys and gals that are coming out there, and going to be talking to you about different parts of this industry. And that's great. So I know that everybody there is wanting to learn something. So my goal is to tell them my story and help inspire them, and help them want to create something special with their team, not just have a bunch of helpers and workers working out there, but actually they want to really scale their business, learning from my failures, my successes, and actually utilizing that to help themselves. So, that's my main purpose there.
Who's somebody that you're looking forward to hearing speaking there yourself?
God, there's so many people. I'm looking forward. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time talking to Xavier. He's somebody that's great. Me honestly, I don't. I have never met Denise Sparks. I've seen her in here. The years that she has, to me, she's a real inspiration that she's been out there doing that. Being a woman out there in such a dog eat dog, man versus man industry, that she's had such success at this. I'm dying to meet her and listening to her and hearing her story, to be honest.
How important do you think events like the Junk Expo are for networking within the junk removal industry?
It's huge. Any type of networking that you can get for somebody in your own industry, it's not only just learning new things, but learning best practices from each other. Not just having the industry leaders something, because guess what, I'm going to learn a lot from everybody else that's there. Just networking, having a beer with somebody, and just shooting the shit, I'm going to learn something. That networking, something that I've never, even though I've been in this business for almost 12 years, I'm going to learn something from somebody that might have been doing this for 6 months. Sharing those best practices, but actually seeing all these other industry leaders. Like I said, my biggest weakness is marketing. I'm going to learn a shit ton about marketing while I'm there, from people that are doing it at a high level. So to me, that's huge. Everybody has their weakness. When they go there, they have their strengths, their weaknesses. They're going to learn how to grow those weaknesses, and they're going to be able to share their strengths with other people that it might affect as well.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've always learned. I've been in a bunch of different industries, and I always like to learn from the best in an industry. There's always, it's you summed it up earlier with putting your ego aside and not thinking that you know everything, and kind of just learning. I like to find the strengths that people have and then learn those strengths and add it to my arsenal. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do with these interviews I've been holding. I've been hitting up the top guys in the junk industry. And, as I'm speaking to them, I could see right away where their strengths are. And I try to just to learn and incorporate that into myself. And it's not always, a cookie cutter plan. You got to kind of adapt it to your own personality and your own strengths and weaknesses. So definitely something very valuable to learn in this industry. And I think this Junk Expo is just going to be priceless. I think it's definitely, even guys that have been in this 15 years, guys that are in it 10, 12 years like yourself, you could still learn, and you're still out there learning. And I think that's very key at being successful and continuing your growth in your own business.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
As far as industry trends, what do you see as the future in junk removal industry? Meaning like, is marketing one of those things? I know Andrew Thompson is developing his autopilot app and all, and I see that as kind of like the future where, back then everything was organic growth, but if you want to stay on top, you kind of got to adapt with technology and get yourself out there in a digital marketing and scheme. Do you see that as being one of the new trends in the junk removal industry?
It's going to be a huge part of it, that because when you're running a successful junk removal company, you need technology at your back. One thing I like about autopilot is it's everybody else uses the Jobber or House Call Pro. It's more of a CRM, but they don't. What they're not using is the FSM, which is the field service management. Having him adapt that into it is going to be a huge thing. And I talked to Andrew about that, and me, I'm spoiled because I came from a system that was developed by 1-800 Got Junk. They developed their own. They spent over $1 million building this, and so many things that it can do. I'm spoiled at that. So utilizing Jobber to me is so basic. So, and anytime Andrew asks for feedback of what can be added, I give him a lot of feedback. I tell him, you have this, put this in there, put that in there. Hopefully he does, because, having that reporting is something that's going to be important. Being able to customize your own reports, which is something that, Jobber or House Call Pro doesn't have, because you know having that reporting and being able to utilize that to track metrics, different type of key performance indicators, huge. Because having that for your team and being transparent with those numbers is important to your team when you're trying to develop them as leaders, because you want them to know what's going on with the company and be a part of that growth. So having that transparent, having that visible, because guess what, you need to measure what matters, and anything that gets measured gets improved. So measuring any type of key performance indicator, making it transparent, putting it out there is big. And if you have a system and have that technology that'll track that for you, is even better. And being able to customize those numbers, because you might utilize whatever different, whether it be average job size or this, having being able to track that by putting your numbers in there is going to be able to you to put out reporting and utilize that for any type of manager that you have, or like I said, putting it out there for your team so they can see if you're reaching your goals or not, if they're hitting that performance numbers or not. Being able to track those performance numbers with that technology is going to be huge. If he can implement that in that, to me, that's a huge win.
Yeah, that is one of the strengths I've seen with Andrew Thompson is he really picks up on all the details and he finds answers as far as, digitally tracking everything. When you get this autopilot, he was telling me that you get 5 tracking numbers with that automatically. And that's key right there just for your marketing. So you know where to place your money and where you're seeing, the returns on it as well. And then another feature that he had on there that I really like was the sequencing. And when you put somebody into your logbook, a new customer or whatever, you could put a certain schedule of follow-up text messages and all that, which is going to bring back repeat customers, which I think that is real key. And it kind of takes away all have to manually phone calls and all that, because once you grow up to like 5,000 customers, it's hard to stay in touch with them and just constantly calling them. But that simple text message that goes out, or hey, I'm in your area, we got a 10% discount, so if business is slow that week, you could go and put that mass text message out, which will stir in some new business as well. So I think that is key as well. And I was learning just so much stuff just having Andrew on here, and stuff that I never would have thought of, and he's making it just so easy. And just to have one app instead of have to having, 3 or 4 different apps that got to do, one thing here, one thing here. But now we got it under one app. It's also a lot cheaper. He's also got the beta testing right now where it's $50 a month rather than some of these other programs, I think, are like 150 to 200 a month and all. So if you could get in at the beginning, it is great value, and kind of help him, target what you want and give your feedback. And, I see that you're a key component in this, and giving him some ideas on stuff to add to this app as well. So definitely something you guys want to check out, get part of it during the beta testing. I know during October 25th, when we're having the Junk Expo, he's going to be releasing beta 2. And, that's going to be the updated version of it. And definitely a great asset and great value it brings.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone just starting out in the junk removal business?
The best advice I can give you is be resilient, and you can't give up. I've given up so many times in the past, failed so many times. Don't let those failures bring you down. Learn from those failures, fail forward. Learn from everything. That every time you fail, you get stronger. Don't let that make you give up on it, because I've failed so many times. I've had weeks, 2 3 weeks at a time, where I got no jobs, and instead of giving up, and because I've wanted to give up so many times, but finding that strength and just really being resilient, and putting in the work, make sure that you're hungry. If you want to do this business, you want to start from scratch, you got to be hungry. By doing that, I want you to think about this. You know, what is your why? Why do you want to do this? What is your why? Dig deep. Don't just give the basic answer. I want to feed my family. I want to take care of my family, which is a great why. But really dig deep inside. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to get up every day, put in blood, sweat, and tears? I could work 2 3 days, 2 3 weeks at a time with no revenue coming in. Why do I want to get up tomorrow morning and dig in and deep and really do this? Think about that question. What is your why? Why do you want to do this? But don't give the basic answer. Really dig deep and think about that.
How do you maintain a work-life balance in such a demanding industry?
I used to joke around that work life balance is a fantasy. This, if you're really hungry and your family understands it, you're going to make some sacrifices. You're going to sacrifice time with your family, because there's nobody that's out there that's 100% successful. The Steve Jobs out there, the Elon Musk, they didn't work 8 hours and come home and do nothing after that. They busted their ass. They went out there, blood, sweat, and tears, sacrificed time away from their families to really succeed. If you want to get that work life balance, it all depends on what that is for you. To me, my wife, if I'm working 12 hours a day or something, she knows that I'm doing something for her and for my kids and for my family, that I'm sacrificing that. And she loves that about me. To me, that's the balance, because I'm able to provide for them. I'm able to, have value to other people as well. And so, that work-life balance, I don't know how to answer that question, because I've never had that. My balance is that I'm able to give my family something special, in this life. So if I have to put in a couple extra hours or work, it's a Saturday, Sunday afternoon, and I get a customer that calls me out there that really needs me, to me, that's important too, because that's helping me grow my business and grow my brand, grow my name out there in the community. And that's going to provide for my family in the future. So, when you're starting off in this business, you got to be willing to make that sacrifice.
Can you share a memorable experience or story from your time in the industry that has struck with you?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I've had so many. I could spend, the next couple hours telling you different stories and just things that stuck with me. One of the things that stuck with me, is that conversation that I mentioned before with the vice president of 1-800 Got Junk. And the reason that it stuck out to me, teaching me about leadership, is because he used to be a professional baseball player. And he was telling me about his time in baseball, that what made him special is, learning from other leaders, and that's why I liked hiring either ex-athletes or ex-military, because they understood what leadership is. If you worked whatever job throughout the years, whether it be fast food or a laundromat or whatever job you're doing in a corporate world, you're used to working with a manager, and that's what you see and that's what you know. But these guys, whether ex-athlete, ex-military, they understand what leadership looks like. They're used to having really great leaders as coaches or sergeants or what have you. They know what leadership looks like. So it's really easy to develop them. And that's one thing that, that's why I loved hiring, during the summer and I needed temporary guys. I'd go to the colleges and hire, I'd hit the rugby team at the local college here to make the best employees, because one, they knew what leadership looked like and they thrived on having that leadership in their lives. And not only that, they were strong as a freaking horse, and having these guys. But to me, and he told me that people want to have that leadership. They don't want a manager. They don't want people micromanaging everything about them. So having that leadership in their life helps them grow personally as well. So, just that conversation and that kind of story. I mean, I have probably 1,000 stories. You want to hit me up in Cali here in a couple weeks, buy me a beer and I share so many stories and it's incredible. But, some of the things I learned over the years is, networking with different franchises and 1-800 Got Junk. And, I got to the point where I felt like I was the smartest guy in the room because some of the crap that would come out of there. Like I said, 1-800 Got Junk locations are all not built the same. But, I started networking with them, and like I said, I felt like the smartest guy in the room. Well, I met another franchise who were really standing out, like they're in Kansas City, and they had some great people there, and the way they did things. My first meeting with them and learning from them, I felt like the dumbest guy in the room, because they found so many different ways to do things differently and out of the norm, and that's what gave me the courage to actually make changes in my location, and not just do the norm because every cookie cutter thing that other franchises were doing, I wanted to do something bigger and better, so surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because that's how you're going to learn to do better. Like I said, that ego makes you think you're the smartest guy in the room. But once you get rid of that, that's when you really start to grow personally.
What's the most unusual item you've encountered while doing the junk removal industry?
Do you really want to know that?
I really do. I've been asking quite a few, and
Um,
JoJo and Matt Vick gave me a funny one as well.
well, we went to this house and they had an entire basement of adult toys. They were a business. They 3D printed these adult toys in their basement, and they had a store that they sold them in. But these were all prototypes or ones that had failed and everything else. So we pretty much had an entire truck loaded of adult toys.
That's funny because that same thing with Matt Vick and JoJo Vick. They had I think it was in a garbage bag, and people called up on it, and they thought it was like a dead body in there, and it ended up being a sex doll, and that was one of the items that they found and came across. And I'm interested to hear in anybody that are listening to this interview and all, maybe just comment in the comments below of something that you found during the junk removal industry that kind of stood out to you guys. And this is the last question, and we're going to call it a day because I know I've had you on for quite a while. Is what is your favorite part about working in this industry, and what keeps you motivated?
You know, that's a great question. You know, I I I love helping customers. To me, every time I walk away from a customer and have given them an experience, because I always tell people that, when you walk into a customer, if they tell you they have a sofa to pick up, and I get there and I walk away with half a truck, a full truck, crap out of their basements while I was there, even though they only called me out there for a sofa, you know, either myself, I'm going to be making more money, my teammates be going to be making more money, but on top of that, even though the customers pay me more money, I've exceeded their expectations, and they're extremely happy for that. It's not like, oh crap, I was going to spend $125, now I just spent $700. But they're happy because they saw the value in it, and I exceeded their expectations, and that's, to me, I walk away feeling great about that, and begging me to give me a Google review or whatever, and just being on a first name basis with that. But at the same time, I'm dying to really grow this business because I want to bring people in. So again, I can begin that teaching and really impact their lives, developing them to be something more. To me, that is my ultimate goal, to grow this business, because I want to do that. I love doing that. And that's the one thing I miss about working with such a big, I had a group of 50 guys that went in and got junk, and being their leader and developing them and just teaching them and empowering them and impacting their lives was huge to me, and it made me have value, and being significant, and I miss that. So to me, being able to grow my own team and create it, grow enough that I have my own team to do that, is going to be big to me.
Where's some place that people could get a hold of you if they have any questions or want to reach out to you? And is there any social media platforms that you want to highlight right now?
Well, you can find me all over the Facebook junk removal groups. They can hit me up at Kevin Hess. You can look me up. You can just reach out to me in Messenger. You know, go to my Facebook page. You'll see my phone number on there. You want to give me a call. I've talked to so many people out there. A lot of the people that are coming to the expo, I've talked to on a personal level. John Aguirre. He's a great guy. He's going to be there talking about cogs. We've had long conversations. I've had, just I love just shooting the shit with people and just talking about the industry, giving my advice, getting advice from them in return. Um, so just, you can hit me up anytime you want, just ask any type of question, and and I'm always there to answer some questions.
And to all my subscribers, make sure to get over and go purchase Kevin's book, Leading with Purpose. Definitely something of great value that you guys definitely want to check out. And also join that Facebook group, Junk Removal Secrets. Kevin is one of the moderators on that. So that's another great place for you to find them as well. And to all my subscribers out there, please click that thumbs up button. It really helps me get an algorithm. I'm trying to build this channel up, and I'm at the very beginning, so it's a little tough right now. And if you haven't already, just make sure you subscribe. Thank you again, Kevin, for coming on today. That was a great, insightful interview. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person October 25th, and I'm going to take you up on that offer. I'm going to definitely buy you a beer. We'll go out and share some stories for sure.
Hell yeah, I love it.
Well, have a great day, Kevin.
All right, Paul.
Talk to you later.